In Texas, there is no bigger community activity than high school football.
Greg was one of the best players.
The momentum he had is unlike most students ever experience.
I got a text message with Greg Kelly's photo, and it just said, "Do you know this kid?"
There was a crime committed, according to this 4-year-old boy.
I just turned numb. Like, this can't be true, this can't be true.
And that's when a second victim came forward.
The jury found the defendant guilty.
This trial was a sham.
Everyone's saying, you got the wrong guy.
Mr. Kelly has lied.
Did you take a lie detector test?
Passed every question but one.
We've been on this journey to figure out what the truth is, and it's proven difficult at every turn.
Initially, I was pretty convinced of his innocence. Now I wouldn't be surprised either way.
BC, and I think it was reported by ESPN just before the show. So now Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa, my understanding is I think it was Ariel Helwani on ESPN saying and reporting that they have signed their bout agreements for UFC 253. BC, the question we have to wrestle with is this, if you think about all the title fights they're going to have, now we're still only halfway through the year or so, but you can kind of see what might be out there. Is this the most important title fight the UFC will have this year? And the answer is no, but yes. And here's what I mean. You've got DC and Stipe 3 just next month. And because those two have fought before, and because of where they stand in their careers, the winner of that is basically going to take home not merely the UFC heavyweight title, but the unofficial title of best UFC heavyweight ever. That's still somewhat debatable because Cormier didn't have the long career there, but I don't think most people are going to quibble with it. If you beat the guy who was supposed to be that in Stipe, and you do it 2 times out of 3, kind of makes you that guy. So in that sense, no. But in another sense, BC, we just talked about Brazil potentially having a third champion. That's a big deal. In terms of the internationalization of MMA, with Adesanya being from Nigeria and now, of course, representing New Zealand, that's a big deal. But the bigger part to me about this one, BC, is, to me, if Adesanya wins this, it's another step in the right direction for him to be a star. He was on the cover of ESPN. He's on the cover of the magazine. He does all the interviews well. The UFC is dying to get this guy into a position where people really want to see him fight. He is so close. And the Paulo Costa fight seems like it has all the makings to get him there. Now, he has to win, so if he loses, forget about it. Paulo Costa could take his place, for crying out loud. But if Adesanya wins, to me, BC, I don't know if it will be the star-making moment, but it's got all the ingredients. It's a real grudge match. They don't have to fake talk like they hate each other. They legitimately don't. It represents something so huge about UFC. They might even be able to do it, by the way, BC, in New Zealand with a crowd. That is not out of the question. We don't even know the location for this yet. So, to me, if they had done Nurmagomedov versus Tony, that would have been the biggest one. I still recognize the enormous significance of next month, but when you're talking about the future of the sport, BC, honestly, I think this one, in that sense, is the most important.
Yeah, how often do we get 2 unbeaten fighters and a major title fight, and you have the backstory, they don't like each other, it's kind of the third time they've tried to make this fight due to injury and COVID, and at its core, this is a box of sex. Step 3, put your thing in the box. This is absolutely an incredible fight on paper because, Luke, like styles make fights, but the best thing about fights are when guys are dance partners that match perfectly. And Costa's unyielding, straight-ahead style, machismo, I'm going to find out if your backbone is what you think it is, paired against, the best counter striker going today in terms of most calculated and creative guy. This is Hollywood casting for as far as styles go. And, whoever does win, and Adesanya deserves to be favored, but whoever does win is really going to get that giant catapult and push. And for Israel, the Romero fight was a detour. It was a speed bump. It didn't go the way it was planned. I got caught up, like a lot of people, and think it would be a great fight, and should have woke up to see what the UFC matchmakers had seen when they told Dana they didn't want to match it. But he got out of there with a win, and this is that exact fight that can make him that next level star for those that aren't woke to him. Absolutely agree with you on that, Luke. It's not more important than the others, but speaking of bag of sex, stag parties big in your area, or was that like a Northeast thing where I was in my 20s?
Refresh my memory. What is the stag party?
I think it's exclusive to New England. I'm not sure, people can jump in. But if you're getting married, instead of like a wild bachelor party where you go out to a bar and strip club and all that with your friends, you would have a stag where you'd rent out a Polish hall. Everyone would come and spend, a $25 ticket, which would get them a cheap buffet and all the, Busch Light keg they can drink. And then there's raffle gifts. And depending on how cultured and sophisticated the potential groom is, those raffle tickets could be legit. They could be like, second row Red Sox tickets or, golf clubs or Xbox or something ridiculous. Did they have that in your area?
No, I didn't really attend any Cuck Fest. I didn't go to Cuckapalooza 2000. That was never on my agenda.
No, this is more of like a factory town thing. The whole point is that pays for your honeymoon. That's why you do this, Luke. But I was that guy in my early 20s who was kind of like a professional stag attender where somebody would be like, hey, yo, my buddy's having a stag. You got to come tomorrow night. And I'd weigh the odds. I'd go, $25 can get me a buffet and all the Busch Light I can drink cold. Like, yeah, I'll go there. So it was always like a good investment. But I always forgot to get a raffle gift, which was sort of custom, right?
What does this have to do with UFC 253?
I'm going to connect the dots right now. Some people would buy a giant liquor bottle or something. I, last minute, if I completely forgot to prepare, would do bag-o porn. So I would get a giant paper bag, fill it with the grossest magazines I could find, write in Sharpie on the outside, bag-o-porn, put it on the table, and it would always be like the first item chosen by some creepy old guy who would then pass it around to all the old like Italian dads. The rest of it was a giant hit. This fight, Costa Adesanya, is the bag-o porn at the Morning Combat Stag. Like, this is it. This is the one.
You don't think it has the potential to be that turning point for Adesanya or one of the early turning points for Costa if he ends up winning? Like,
yeah, it's a
to me, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If Gaethje goes up and there's all different ways to measure significance, right? As I mentioned, DC Stipe 3 title for best heavyweight ever. That's a huge deal. I can recognize that. And if Gaethje goes over there and beats Nurmagomedov, I don't know that he will, but let's just say that he does, then that carries like its own form of enormous significance. But still, you can just kind of tell, man, all roads at middleweight lead to this. You can't go forward at middleweight until you settle it and you have dynamic personalities, dynamic guys in front of the camera, totally opposite styles, totally opposite parts of the world, and both of them are not stars yet, but they're just, they're kind of inching there. I don't know. It feels to me like one of those things you'll look back on like that was the point in their career where X did this,
Right, because you're almost guaranteed to get a finish that like Costa's going to make you knock him out, right? So you're almost guaranteed to get the kind of performance and finish that is currency to yanking those casual fans in. So if Adesanya wins this, he's probably going to have to stop him to do it, and he can give the soundbite afterwards, and casual fans will lick that ish up. So it's a perfect setup fight, Luke, if he can get through it, and it's going to be a violent test.
In Texas, there is no bigger community activity than high school football.
Greg was one of the best players.
The momentum he had is unlike most students ever experience.
I got a text message with Greg Kelly's photo, and it just said, do you know this kid?
There was a crime committed, according to this 4-year-old boy.
I just turned numb. Like, this can't be true, this can't be true.
And that's when a second victim came forward.
The jury found the defendant guilty.
This trial was a sham.
Everyone's saying you got the wrong guy.
Mr. Kelly has lied.
Did you take a lie detector test?
Passed every question but one.
We've been on this journey to figure out what the truth is, and it's proven difficult at every turn.
Initially, I was pretty convinced of his innocence. Now I wouldn't be surprised either way.